What to do, what to do, what to do. Welcome to Therapy Hub. We're here with a brand new episode brought from me to you. We're here to transform the mind and heal the soul. Um, Hey, I just want to say hello to everybody. We've kind of been away for about a week because we've been changing some things up in the studio. As you can see, we have a whole new look here in the studio, and we're happy that we're able to do that. And that's going to be a piece of our topic today. And we're going to talk about self therapy. Now, we're not going to have too much time today because, um, we want to get into some other topics and some other sections throughout the week with what we're talking about because it's going to be very important. So I don't want to keep up too much of anybody's time. But for the meantime, I just want to just talk about self therapy this week. And, every week I like to talk about self therapy and the things that we do for self therapy. So I just want to just say that I had a huge opportunity to change the whole look and the whole scenery of our studio. And that was something that to me was very soothing and it was life changing. And I know for for the most part, some people in life, or sometimes in life, we feel trapped. We feel that we can't, or that we can't change, or we can't change the environment, or we're gonna be in the same place in the same environment every day or all the time. And that's not true. You are the controller of your own self. So if you're having a time where you need to be, directly involved with yourself instead of worrying about others, then you got to be in that position. Because in order to help others, you got to be able to help yourself. We're going to talk about that today. Now, self therapy is very important. We talk about this every week because not everybody's not always there to um, listen to you, are not always there to take your call, are not always there to answer you when you need them. Sometimes people are busy or they're with their family members or, they're doing other things. So it's very important that we understand these things and we realize that um and we have to find ways for ourselves to self medicate ourselves to better to better the community and to be better leaders at what we do. We can't lead nobody unless we are good leaders. We can't be um, positive influencers and positive role models in the community if we're not doing positive things ourselves. So it's very important for us to find these pieces of um, healing and pieces of um, you know communication, or sorry, pieces of healing and using these tools and communicating with other people. Now that's what A Man's Cry documentary basically was summarized around, was talking to others. We know that as men we suffer traumatically from mental health when it comes to not opening up because we're not we're not looked at as manly when we do, or we feel less of a man when we do. So this is a quite been quite a problem. This has been a big problem for men over the years, from centuries. And now things are starting to become more harder, and it's starting to become more open with what is happening with young men out there who are facing you know these mental health challenges. And we all know, for men, we don't break down and cry, or we our anger is different. Our choice of expressing our hurt is different. We tend to turn to anger. So when we, instead of you know using that as a self therapy tool, anger, we need to use it, or use other things as a self therapy tool to help, just to help better us a little bit more, and help build our communities and our relationships a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to get into a video from John Maxwell. Now, John Maxwell explains to him, to us that we have to set each other up sometimes to win, especially if we're winning. Now, when you're dealing with self therapy, for the most part, you know, you're not winning at that point. Let's just say that. It's not to say that nobody wins in general, but like when you're dealing with self therapy, it's not a time to think of winning. It's a time to think of, or it is a win because you're bettering yourself, but it's a time to say, hey, I need to work on myself. Then when you accomplish that and you become a leader, and when I mean a leader, is I mean somebody that can lead others, right? That's a leader. And when you become that, then you can work on value in relationships. And that's what we're the topic that we're on now. So they work hand in hand. Um, but you may feel, oh well, you're contradicting yourself because you're talking about um self therapy and then value relationships. How can you value relationship if you need self therapy? We all need self therapy. Self therapy is something in life that we do when we are having a rough time. I don't feel like there's any individual in the world who doesn't have a rough time. The rich, the blind, what people who can see, people who have the healthiest people in life have a hard time. Life is challenging. We all go through the same things. That's why if you notice God, and please forgive me if you don't believe in God, I'm sorry, I apologize. Therapy Hub is a God driven, it's a spiritual show. So it's God driven, right? So we believe in God, but if you don't, I apologize. We can say your higher power, okay? But if you notice the way the world is, we're all amongst each other. I stress this to everybody out there who has a problem with getting along with others and interacting with others. Because in life, we have to remember that we're not alone in this world, that we all are in it together. Okay. So we, if God or whoever, our higher power, the creator, wanted us to be alone and wanted us to be selfish, then we wouldn't have anybody else in the world. It would be just me, just be just you, which I wouldn't even be talking right now because I would be having nobody to talk to. So, in that case, that's not happening. We're amongst each other. So, we have to learn to live with each other and we have to learn to um, be, you know, uh, there for each other when we need each other the most. Okay. Now, when John Maxwell in this video, I'm going to get into the video now, but John Maxwell talks about the importance of that and the importance of setting each other up to win because we need each other. This world we cannot do it alone. You know, a man the Bible says it too. A man is uh, was not built to be alone, right? There was somebody meant to be here with the man. So that goes to show you the importance of coming together and the importance of valuing relationships. Now, before I get into the video, I want to just say something very quickly. And I know many will agree, but valuing relationships is not always necessarily, you know, um, it's not necessarily always being like that's like you have to put everything aside for that relationship. Okay. Value relationships could mean different things. And I'll give you an example. Sometimes in life, we have people who we get along with and people who we don't get along with. But for the most part, people who we don't get along with them because there's just something about them that we don't like. There's something about them that is not clicking, that's not matching with our energy. So for that reason, we're not getting along. So when that happens, we know that there's only two things that is happening here because especially if we know them. One, that we don't value that person for who they are, or we just don't like that person at all. But sometimes we forget that that same person may have did something for us that we actually liked, and that they did something that they may have done also something to us that we didn't like, and that over trumped whatever they did that we liked. So that's what a value of a relationship is. Sometimes we don't separate that and say, okay, look, this person did something wrong to me. That's fine. This person did, however, are not wrong. Sometimes there are some things where people do things wrong to us that we just can't further a relationship, and I understand that. But sometimes we don't tend to think about, or really logically think about, what that person did and if they just made us angry at that time. If they made us angry at that time, that's cool. But what else in that relationship that we have that I valued? And sometimes that helps us keep relationships, right? And I'm not talking about the right or wrong, or who was right or who was wrong. The person could have been wrong. You could have been wrong. But the most important thing is how we value that relationship. So I've lost many friends by just saying to myself, "Oh, they got me upset for this reason, and I don't like them because of this and X, Y, and Z." But then I sat down sometimes and thought, like, "Hey, this person shared this moment with me, and they shared that moment with me, and I valued that. That was an important part of my life." And I think sometimes we'll feel better about the people that hurt us. I think it will help us value our relationships more, and it will help us forgive more. It will help us with our forgiving healing process, because that's not easy. We all been hurt, and we tend to always shut the door on people that hurt us, which is sometimes justifiable. But then we take that same hurt that somebody else or that somebody did to us, and we apply it to somebody else. And that's the problem that we have in this world. And if we can eliminate that and kind of like uh know the difference between it, and know who is here, or sorry, who we can value from who we don't value, I think that will be you know I think that would be great. It would be a better world. However, John Maxwell also has um uh a very stern teaching that he has, or a lesson. And it kind of states falls around the fact that even if you don't like a person, even if you don't know them, still show them love, still value them as a person, because they may accept that, and that may be a life-changing event for them. You got to remember, people change each other's lives. We all follow each other. Nobody, uh, you know, I shouldn't say nobody's a leader. Because we're talking about leading and becoming leaders. But for the most part, leaders are leaders. But people follow leaders. They follow each other. That's how leaders become leaders. So everybody still follows somebody. You know, we're in a world where somebody's wearing a pair of Jordans, fives, the threes, the retros. Someone else wants them. A jacket that somebody may like. Gucci, Louis, everybody wears the same thing. Everyone shops at the same places. Everyone buys the same clothes. So when you see things like that, okay, we follow one another. So that means that we all have an influence on one another. But what are we doing the right way to influence one another? Okay. And value in relationships is the most important thing, because that will help us become better in the way we deal with one another. Okay. Let's play this video by John Maxwell, and then we're going to come back and close it up. All right.
Hi, John Maxwell here. Welcome to Minute with Maxwell. We're talking about relationship principles. This is a series of several lessons, and this one I'm going to talk about is principle number 8, and that is people want success, so help them win. I think everybody wants to win, and I think most people don't win on a consistent basis. And I think because of that, Their self-image goes down, their confidence goes down, and things that they could do, they don't do, and the person they could become, they don't become. Because no one wants to continually lose their way to success. You can't really do that. You've got to get some wins under your belt. You've got to get some victories. I mean, if you look at the Old Testament example of David, I mean, he's known for being the giant slayer. He killed Goliath in a battle, and everybody knows that young, non-experienced, non-military little David beat up the big boy. Everybody knows that, but what they don't know sometimes is that he just didn't take that giant leap from being a shepherd boy to a giant killer. You see, while he was a shepherd, one day a bear came out of the woods to take the sheep, and he was good with a slingshot, and he killed the bear. And one day he killed a lion. So he had some wins under his belt before he got to, shack Goliath. He had some wins under his belt before he got there. So when he got to Goliath, this wasn't a big step. It was the next step. You see, success is all about several wins, several steps taken. I did that pretty well, and I've accomplished this, and you kind of step your way up until the moment that you kind of get well known as a giant slayer. You it's no big deal to you. You know what's no big to you? It's a big deal to them because all they saw you do is knock out the big boy. But it's no big deal to you because you've been winning for a period of time. So help people get some little wins under their belt. It'll help their confidence. It'll make them more secure. It'll make them more bold. And someday they'll get to be a giant slayer. Welcome. I'm glad you're with me today on Minute with Maxwell.
And that's it, man. We can only we can only help each other become our biggest, the next biggest thing, and the next biggest star is, teamwork is dream work, and today we have a brand new studio crew that we started, and we had James in the studio today. It's our assistant production manager, and Anita, who is our stage director, and a few other people that we're building a team. And that's all that I could ask for. And I value these people and they value me. There's, our relationship is valued with what we do for one another, and we help each other grow. And if it wasn't for Anita, this whole new scenery, I wouldn't even have thought about it. I would have continued probably doing what I was doing and struggling with back scenes there, and I didn't really know what to do. And she just told me to time out and, hey, come and let me help you with this. And she showed me some examples and of different sceneries, and she's like, I think your show, I loved your show, I love listening to your show, but I would love to see a better background, and it would be more appealing to me. And because of that, I said to her, man, I need somebody like you. And she offered, or she agreed. So that's about, and that's because I valued that relationship. I valued what she implemented to me, and I used it. I put it into use. And now look at the studio. Right? I tell people all the time, you're an artist or whatever. I don't like that song. I never said I didn't like you as an artist. I love you as an artist, but there's just certain songs and certain things that I just don't like, and I feel that they're not, because I'm the one that's watching you. You're the one that's making the content. Whatever you make, you're gonna want to do, right? But the viewer is what's important. So if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I don't like this song, or don't take offense to it, right? Okay, be like, all right, how can we make this song better? How can we work together, or how can we work together to make a better song, or to do, what's your input, or what do you have in mind? Because the vision I have for a certain artist, I see it's like they could be bigger. And I'm not trying to sit here and make my opinion matters the most. However, I know what I've been in the game for a while. I have a lot of connections. I know what I know what I have a good vision. I know what I can see, right? I know when I see something, I know what it can be, right? Because my vision. So my vision's huge. So because of that, that's, I'm able to share that with others. But then there's people out there that just, oh, it's okay. I don't, no, I don't want to hear that. And they don't want to hear their ego or whatever it is. That's cool. But I'm just letting you know that in life, as you heard from the stories and what John Maxwell said, we need each other to set each other up to be the next giant slayer. All right. It's the only way we're going to succeed. Teamwork is dreamwork. All right. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. But before we go, I just want to let you know that you can go on head over to our sponsor, Bark and Scratch Pet Supplies and Foods. All right. They are at 2404 Danforth Avenue. Once again, that's Bark and Scratch Pet Foods Ltd. They're at in between Main and Woodbine on the north side. And all you got to do is walk in there and say Amptv sent you, and you will get 10% off. All right. Now they got all different kinds of foods there, high end from Boreal to Acana and more. All right. So just make sure you go check them out. It's at 2404 Danforth Avenue. All you got to say is Amptv sent you, and you get a 10% deal off all supplies. All right. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're going to have a short segment, but throughout the week, please stay tuned because we're going to dive into topics about value in relationships, different sections about relationships, the value in relationships, and what we can do to keep them. All right. It's your boy, the Rue. Thank you for tuning in. Peace and love.